I didn't realize I had been uninvited until I arrived. The invitation still sat in my glove box, creased at the corners from where I'd folded it and unfolded it too many times. Beige cardstock, gold foil lettering, a blush pink ribbon threaded through a punched hole in the top, as if pretty paper could mask what had already started rotting between us. I had driven 2 hours in heels too tight, dress too formal, smile too forced. I had curled my hair in a bathroom mirror lit by cold LED strips. I had checked the address 3 times, and yet, when I pulled into the gravel lot of Maplewood Gardens, the parking was empty. No valet, no music, no signs. Just a lone squirrel darting across the path and a banner from last weekend's vintage fall market still fluttering above the gate. I remember walking slowly up the cobblestone path, still thinking maybe I was early. Maybe the GPS was wrong. Maybe they were inside, but the door was locked. No setup crew, no floral arch, no chairs, just silence, and the sound of leaves scraping against the stone. I stood there for a few minutes, stupidly, holding the gift box with the silver ribbon in my arms, like some kind of pathetic symbol of faith. My phone stayed silent. No messages, no missed calls. Until eventually, I checked my cousin Anna's Instagram story. And there it was. The new venue. Big white hall. Chandeliers. Marble floors. Different chairs. A new floral arch. Her caption read, "Couldn't have picked a better place. Changed last minute, but so worth it. They changed it. They told everyone else. Everyone except me." I sat back in the driver's seat with the windows rolled up and the boxed gift still on my lap. My fingers felt numb, like even my body couldn't process the humiliation fast enough. The ribbon pressed an indent into my skin as I clutched it tighter. A part of me wanted to drive straight to the new venue and walk in like I belonged there, just so she'd have to look me in the eye, just so someone, anyone, would see what they'd done. But instead, I turned off my phone, and I drove home. Quietly. Alone, I didn't cry when I got home. Not because I wasn't hurt. I was. But because I had already spent so many years crying over smaller versions of the same wound that by now, I knew how to carry it dry. I peeled off the dress slowly, like it had betrayed me too. I hung it back in the closet, tag still attached. Receipt still folded in the paper bag from the boutique where I let the salesgirl talk me into dusty mauve because it matched the bridesmaid's palette. Except I wasn't a bridesmaid. I never was. Not when Anna and I were 8, and she pushed me out of our make-believe wedding play. Not when she got engaged and told me she was keeping it small, only to post photos later of 10 girls in matching satin robes. Not even when she needed help planning. She still called me, though, for spreadsheets, for caterer reviews, for deposits. "I know you're good at this stuff," she'd say sweetly. "You're so organized." It was always said like a compliment, like being helpful was the same thing as being wanted, and I always clapped for her. At graduations, at recitals, at every birthday dinner where her name was on the cake and mine was just written in my seat assignment. I was always in the room, but never really of the room. There was one Thanksgiving, I must have been 22, where they ran out of chairs. Everyone squeezed in tight at the long table in Aunt Marta's dining room, the one with the lace runner and the burnt-out chandelier bulb they never replaced. I brought dessert that year, 3 pies, homemade, but when it was time to eat, there weren't enough places, so they handed me a plate and pointed to the couch. "Just sit there for now," they said. We'll rotate. They didn't. I could forgive a lot of things. But something about seeing that caption changed last minute, but so worth it. Made something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, not even sadness. Just that quiet realization that they had never expected me to notice. Because people like me, the background people, aren't expected to react. We're expected to nod, smile, help, disappear. I opened my laptop that night, not to write a message, not to confront anyone, but to log into my banking app. Because the deposit I'd made for the first venue, the one Anna never paid back, it was still under my name, and technically, it had never been used. The thing about being the one they overlook is that they forget what you own. The Maplewood Gardens venue had required a 40% deposit to secure the date. Anna had called me 3 months before the wedding in a breathy panic. We're over budget, and Dad's card just declined for the florist. Could you maybe help us hold the venue, just for a bit? So I paid it, $3,500. In my name, my account. My signature on the contract. I remember the girl at the front desk even said, "You're the one getting married?" I laughed. "No," I said. "Just the one paying for it." They never transferred it back. Every time I brought it up, Anna would say, "Oh my God, yes. I'll get Mom to sort it. Things have just been so crazy lately." And I let it go. Because I thought that's what people like me do. We don't send invoices to family. We just absorb the debt and tell ourselves it was a gift. But that night, as I sat barefoot at my desk in a silk dress no one saw, I opened the contract. I still had the email confirmation, the payment reference, the cancellation policy, venue unused, deposit eligible for 80% refund. It felt cold, transactional, like revenge should be more dramatic. But there was something cleansing about it. Just a few clicks. Just a formal email. No anger, no confrontation. Just a clean removal of my name. By noon the next day, I had a reply. "Thank you for notifying us of the change. We've processed your cancellation and your refund will be issued within 7-10 business days." $2,800. I didn't tell Anna. I didn't tell anyone. I just waited. The next morning, I found a group photo of the new venue posted online. She tagged every bridesmaid, every cousin, even the childhood friend she once told me she hated. I wasn't in the photo. Of course not. But I was still the reason they had lights above their heads that night. For a while. Later that week, a text came through. Anna. "Hey. Quick question. Did you ever get the venue refund? Just wondering because Mom said we might need that money for the honeymoon if they don't waive the other deposit, LOL." I stared at the message for a full minute. "No, sorry. No, you, okay?" No mention of me not being there, just a request. Like I was the ATM again. I didn't respond. But I archived the chat, and I let the silence do what years of kindness never could. They always rotated me out. I didn't have the language for it when I was younger. Not back then, when I thought love was something you earned by being useful, helpful, low maintenance. When I was 12, Anna broke her wrist falling off the backyard swing set. I remember standing in the kitchen watching her cry as Aunt Marta rushed to gather her things for the ER. No one asked me to come. "Stay here, sweetie," someone said. "Be good." So I cleaned up the spilled juice from the porch. I folded the towel they'd used to prop her arm. I kept the dog quiet while they drove off, wailing and panicked. When they got back, everyone was telling stories. "You should have seen her face," Uncle Mark said, laughing. "Brave girl didn't even cry getting the cast." And all I could think was, I wiped up the blood. I don't think they meant to be cruel. I really don't. It was more that I didn't fit into any of the easy categories. I wasn't the funny one, or the pretty one, or the one who needed saving. I was the steady one. The one you call when your printer breaks or you need a ride at 6 a.m. The one who knows everyone's birthday and brings extra napkins. I started to believe that was enough, until I saw what being chosen really looked like, on a glossy Instagram feed, under fairy lights and filtered smiles. The silence after I archived Anna's message stretched longer than I expected. A week passed. Then another, and still no follow-up. No apology, no realization, nothing, which told me everything I needed to know. I spent that time rearranging my apartment. Nothing drastic, just a slow, soft edit of my life. I moved the bookshelf away from the window. I folded up the guest bedding I used to keep, just in case. I donated the blender they got me 2 Christmases ago, the one they joked I'd only need once I got married someday. The absence of them felt cleaner than their presence ever had. And for the first time, my space finally started to look like mine. One morning, I took the wedding gift box out from the closet, the one I had driven 2 hours with, untouched, unopened. Inside was a custom-framed print of Anna's favorite quote. I had chosen the font myself. Matte black frame. Pale ivory background. The quote read, "The best thing to hold on to in life is each other." Audrey Hepburn stared at it for a long time. Then I slid it back into the box, taped it shut, and printed a return label. Not out of spite, but because I realized something. They'd never held on to me. Would you like to continue with part 5, where the emotional boundary begins to ripple outward, and someone in the family finally notices the silence? Too late? The return label scanned 3 days later. I watched the tracking update on my screen like it was some kind of slow catharsis. Delivered, front porch, 2:12 p.m. I imagined Anna standing there, holding the box I had once held so gently. I wondered if she'd recognize the tape, if she'd remember how I always double knot ribbons so they don't come undone in the car. But mostly, I wondered if she'd feel the shift, that quiet click of a door closing without a slam. On Sunday, Aunt Marta called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, upbeat and breezy, as if we hadn't drifted into different orbits months ago. "Hey, sweetheart, just checking in. We missed you at the wedding. Hope everything's okay. Let's catch up soon, okay? Love you." It didn't feel like love. It felt like obligation dressed up in a sing-song voice. I didn't call back. By then, the group chat had gone silent on me too. It used to be active. Cousins sharing memes, Marta forwarding chain prayers, Anna posting photos of cake tastings and bridesmaid inspo. But after the wedding, it was as if I'd gone translucent. No one asked why I hadn't come. No one checked if I was sick or lost or even breathing. And I didn't correct them. There was something sacred in the space between what I could say and what I chose not to. I busied myself with the small things. Laundry, work, long walks with no destination. Grief has strange footsteps. It doesn't stomp. It lingers. I found myself humming in the kitchen more often, something I used to do as a kid when I felt safe. I started baking again. Banana bread. The one with walnuts and dark chocolate chips. The kind I used to bring to family holidays. Back. When I thought that kindness could earn me permanence, I made it for myself now. Only myself. A week later, a message finally came. From Anna. Hey, did you cancel the venue? Just that. No, hi. No, hope you're okay. Just the question. Like I was a transaction gone stale. I stared at it while my tea went cold. Then, without typing anything, I swiped the message to the left. Muted. It wasn't vengeance. It was clarity. She hadn't reached out because she missed me. She reached out because she needed something, and for the first time, I had nothing left to give. My birthday came and went like a skipped song. No call from Anna, no card. Not even a lazy emoji in the family group chat. I didn't expect anything. But something about the silence pressed in differently when it was your day. Not because you want celebration, but because you want someone to notice that time passed. And you were still here, still standing, still choosing not to beg. A few weeks later, an invitation arrived, not in the mail, but as a forwarded text from my cousin Jared. Hey, Uncle Mark's turning 60 next weekend. Big dinner at the house. You coming? No direct message from the hosts, no warm greeting. Just a lazy pass-through from someone who probably hadn't realized I was being frozen out until it inconvenienced the head count. I stared at it for a minute. Typed, then deleted. Typed again. Then I left it on read. That Saturday, I lit a candle in my apartment. Not because it was a special night, but because I wanted the room to smell like cedar and cinnamon, not like cold leftovers and grief. I poured a glass of wine. The good one. The one I used to bring to Thanksgiving because Uncle Mark hated cheap reds. I watched it catch the light in my glass, ruby and soft, like it didn't owe anyone an explanation for its richness. It was a small defiance, but it felt holy. Later that evening, I checked Instagram out of habit. There they were, all of them. Laughter blurred in motion, plates clinking, candles flickering over faces I used to know by memory. Anna wore a new dress, the same shade of blue. She told me once made her feel delicate. My chair, the one I always sat in near the kitchen, had someone else's purse slung across the back. No one saved me a seat. No one noticed I wasn't there. Until the next morning, that's when the message came, from Aunt Marta. We missed you last night. Is everything okay? 7 words. After months of being invisible, 7 words felt almost cruel. I didn't reply right away. Instead, I stepped out onto my tiny balcony and let the late autumn air sting my cheeks. I watched the city move without me. Quiet, rhythmic, uncaring. And I thought about how long I had held on to a family that only knew how to keep me when they needed something. I went back inside, made breakfast, opened my book, let the hours pass without apology. I wasn't trying to punish them. I just finally stopped showing up to prove I mattered. The first message from Anna in weeks didn't start with hi. It started with, I feel like you're mad at me and I don't even know why. 12 words. All deflection. No ownership. The kind of sentence that pretends to be confused but knows exactly what it's doing. The kind that turns the wound back on the person bleeding. I reread it 3 times, then closed my phone. I don't know what she expected. An essay? A list? A bullet-pointed breakdown of every slight she stacked, so casually across the years? Maybe she forgot about the venue. Maybe she forgot I paid for it at all. Or maybe she just assumed I'd still be there anyway, like I always was, clapping from the sidelines. But this wasn't silence out of rage. It was silence out of finality. Day passed, then another, no follow-up. Just the single dangling message, unread now. Lost in the archive of what could have been repaired, if only someone had asked before the consequences arrived. I started drafting a reply. Once. Typed it late. At night, half in the dark, my fingers trembling not from anger but from the fear of sounding bitter. "I'm not mad," I wrote. "Just done." I stared at the screen, the cursor blinking like it was waiting for me to attach a softer ending. But I didn't send it. I deleted it. Not because she didn't deserve to hear it, but because I no longer needed her to understand. That weekend, I visited a bookstore alone, the kind with uneven floorboards and dust in the corners. I bought myself a journal, deep green with a gold spine, heavy in my hands, like something worth keeping. On the inside cover, I wrote only one line. I will not explain my absence to those who never noticed my presence. Outside, it had started to rain, and for once, I didn't hurry home. It was a Tuesday, when the text came through. From Uncle Mark this time. "Your aunt's in the hospital. Chest pains. They're running tests." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't coded in panic. It was just information. The kind you share out of expectation. Because no matter how fractured a family becomes, blood still assumes an audience. I stared at it for a long while, not because I didn't care, but because I needed to ask myself, would I be showing up because I wanted to, or because I didn't want them to think I was heartless? It's strange when you realize how often guilt looks like love. I didn't go. I made a cup of tea, sat at my desk, lit the candle again, cedar and cinnamon, just like that night. I checked the hospital's visitor policy online. I knew what room she was in. I could have walked in quietly, placed flowers by the bed, smiled at the nurse, and slipped back out before anyone even saw me. But I didn't. Not out of cruelty. Just because I knew they wouldn't have done the same for me. Few days later, another message came. This time from Anna. "She's home now. We're doing dinner next week. You should come." No apology, no acknowledgement, just a dinner invite, like I was a friend they hadn't seen in a while, not the person they'd erased when it was convenient. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed, then turned my phone off. That night, I made dinner for one. I set the table gently, a real plate, a cloth napkin, a glass of wine, the good one again. No one commented on my portion size. No one made me feel like a guest in a room I'd paid for. No one interrupted, and no one forgot me, because I remembered myself. After I finished eating, I went to the drawer. The one where I'd once kept photos, invites, birthday cards from years where I still hoped they'd see me. I took them out, one by one. Read each name, each message, and then I let them go. I didn't rip or burn them. That would have made them powerful. No. I placed them in a bag, zipped it closed, and walked it to the donation bin on the corner. Because even memories can be recycled into something better. It was raining again when I got back. I opened the window, let the cold drift in. Then I sat down at my desk, opened my journal, the green one, and wrote only this. I was never truly invisible. They just chose not to look. And for the first time in years, I didn't need them to.